Okay, sorry about that, y'all. Look like we had a lot of content previously provided pertaining to biblical studies on this channel. And right now, this is actually my very first live ever. Okay, so this is our first live stream that we've ever done. And it's a doozy as far as I'm concerned. This message was placed on my heart earlier. It's actually been on my heart for quite some time in many different facets and many different pieces. And I think that now is the time to bring this perspective and this truth out. Okay, as you guys and ladies see on the title itself, I decided to title this Will Smith's Cry for Help, Bill Gates and D.U.M.B.s, or Deep Underground Military Bases. Now, this is going to be a jam-packed live, okay? So I really want y'all to hold on. And if you're tapped into the True Jew channel, go ahead on and come on over and check this out as well. I'll also be making some of this content available on the True Jew channel, just to let you all know who aren't aware of Gatekeepers Ministries that I actually have this channel as well, okay? Now, what I like to do before I get into the actual topic at hand, I want to go into the scriptures, the Apocrypha, Second Esdras chapter 9, verses 1 through 8. Now, I recognize that it's still a Shabbat for many people. It's still a day of rest for many people. So this is a pretty cool time to actually make this study and this dialogue available to you all. I feel really great about it. And I know that it's still daytime with certain regions of the nation and the world. Okay, so we're going to tap into this while it's still Shabbat, while it's still a day of rest. So as I go through this study, make sure you grab your paper, your pen, get ready to take some notes if you can. And of course, you could always watch the replay of this study as it's made available. Okay, so Second Esdras chapter 9, verses 1 through 8 states, He answered me then and said, Measure the time diligently in itself, and when you see parts of the signs pass, which I have told you before, then shall you understand that it is the very same time where the highest will begin to visit the world which it made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then you will well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before you, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world has a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonders and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby you have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. Okay, I thank you to that first viewer that came in and that first like. I appreciate that. See, that was Second Ezra chapter 9, verses 1 through 8. And I wanted to premise this whole presentation with that opening up, with those opening verses opening up, because what we have right now is a very serious time of turmoil that's going on in the land. And there are many folks who simply don't know what is going on. And there are other folks who have read exactly what I just read to you all, and they kind of don't believe still. They still don't believe what's actually going on. There are many people who have been led to the scriptures, and for whatever reason in their personal lives, the scriptures have kind of gone in one ear, sat for a moment, permeated. And then as life continued to go on, just due to the time that we're in, a lot of those scriptural readings have been doubted. And we're in a time right now where many people have begun to doubt what it is they've read. And they've come to a place where they are ignoring the signs all around. So, what does this have to do with the subject at hand? Well, we're seeing the signs, right? And these signs have been prophesied to us before. And that's what Second Ezra is basically telling us about in chapter 9, verses 1 through 8, and calling to our memory everything that we're going through now. And that's why I had to premise this video and presentation with that, because Will Smith's cry for help, Bill Gates in deep underground military bases, DUMBs, what do all these have to do with one another? Well, let's start with Will Smith. As we all know, Will Smith recently slapped Chris Rock live on stage, and I think they call it the slap heard across the world, right? Well, I don't want you all to be emotionally charged, even as you watch this and thinking that I'm coming across with any conspiracy theories or anything like that. This is beyond conspiracy. And oh, thank you. Great. Everyone can hear me clearly. That's what's up. Okay. Thank you for that confirmation. Um, what we're doing right now is actually bringing forth the truth and making sense of everything that is being presented as possible conspiracy theory. There's truth to pretty much everything, and if you can dig deep enough to identify that truth, you can begin to make some sense about what you are seeing, and then make plans and preparations uh, that deal with that truth in a healthy, unfearful manner. Okay, so let's begin with this whole Will Smith cry for help. Let me first say that growing up, I'm an '80s baby. Okay, so I was born 1985 in the middle of the year. Okay, when Will Smith hit the scene, he was an absolute phenomenon. Saw a lot of my siblings. I'm one of 19. Okay, I have many cousins. I think it's thousands of us, real talk, sides of my family. But Will Smith, early on, he reminded me a lot of my cousins on my maternal side of my family. Just really cool dudes who were just very popular in school and, just had it going on. And me looking as a little boy and watching them, they were people that I want to aspire to be like. And when Will Smith hit the scene, he carried that same vibe, that same energy, them 70s babies that was raised through the 80s, that was the beginners of the rap, you know what I'm saying? They were the first rap stars, the first rappers, the first cool kids, you know what I'm saying? And so Will Smith fell into that for me. And when he was chosen to play the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that pretty much blasted him off into superstardom. And of course, during that time, Will Smith could do no wrong. Okay, as far as the eyes of America was concerned, he was quite possibly America's favorite son at that time. And during this time, none of us were quite aware of what it took to be in the industry. None of us were quite aware of what it took to be at that level of superstardom. Him being the first, I believe, the first rap Grammy with he and DJ Jazzy Jeff, and him getting so many accolades early on, balling on him, like we would say, through his show, having a lot of power in the industry quite early. And none of us knew what it took to really get to that level of fame, that level of authority, because he did have pull. None of us really knew. We weren't aware of any sacrifices that had to be made. We weren't aware of any spiritual connotations in them. Now, I want to say that what I'm bringing forth is not an attempt to defame Will Smith. Actually, what I want to do is make sure that, first of all, whenever I have a deep feeling on someone, well, about someone on my heart, and it could be considered controversial, I know the power of prayer, and I know how important it is to pray for our loved ones and to really show that concern. And I would consider Will Smith one of my loved ones. I've never met the brother in the physical form, but he has left an indelible mark on my life, just as far as that good child, that good son who, like I said, America's favorite son, who he could do no wrong in the eyes of America. And early on, he really was a good role model for me. It wasn't until one day I was on TV. I think it might have been HBO, back in the day when you had the A and B switch on your cable box. It wasn't until back then when he had this movie called The 6 Degrees of Separation, when I began to question, and I was a little boy. So I began to question, what in the world is this? In that movie, in a nutshell, he plays pretty much this young in this movie, he plays a homosexual role. And like I said, I wasn't aware of this type of sacrifices that individuals had to do to get the stardom that they sought after. And when I was watching the movie just because he was in it, I was like, wow, there's a Will Smith movie? I didn't even know that. Up until that time, I just thought he was a star on television and a rap star. But when I found out that movie, which I didn't hear any promotion about, mind you, I'm a little boy, but I saw the advert for it scrolling down on the old school TV Guide channel, went to the HBO, I think that's what channel it was on, and saw the movie, pieces of it, right? But when it got to that scene where he was in the bedroom with one of his the people he was trying to get over on, and he was in the bedroom with the boy, well, not the boy, but the other guy, and it was, a black dude and a white dude, Will Smith being the black dude. I forget the name of the white actor's name, but they were together doing some very strange things, okay? And the mother to the white boy's character came in and saw them engaged in that frivolous activity, and then eventually kicked Will Smith's character out, as I saw later on, as I got older. But when it first happened on screen for me, and I was a little boy, I immediately turned it off. I was like, "Whoa, what was that?" And of course, I wasn't about none of that, so I wasn't trying to watch that. I turned to another channel. I had to relieve my mind because what I saw was so strange to me, especially coming from Will Smith. I was not expecting that at all. Okay, so what is going on with Will Smith in 2022? What's really going on, y'all? Well, Will Smith has had one heck of a career over his lifetime. And right now, what you are witnessing is Will Smith is trying to get out of his soul contract that he signed with the evil and wicked entities way back when he began his career. Yes, y'all. He's trying to get out of his soul contract. Now, you'll notice in modern times right now, many celebrities who are regretting that decision, no matter how much fame they've received, are trying to get out of these soul contracts any way that they can. Some of them are going so far as to fake their own death, or doing damning things to be thrown in jail and quite possibly executed like that. Yes. Some of them are doing things like what you see Will Smith doing. And what he's doing is attempting to kill off his celebrity without killing off his physical self, okay? So he's not willing to go the dead celebrity route, that we've seen celebrities take where they actually appear to be dead, and many people all over the world cry over these people, right? Instead, what Will Smith is doing is he wants to give Hollywood a reason to remove him from the industry, okay? And I believe that he feels that if he does this and if he's successful with this, then in some byproduct, held accountable to that soul contract which he originally signed. Okay, and they might somehow rip up the contract and get rid of it. But you have to know that those soul contracts are signed and written in blood. And today I know most people would think, well, what do they do? Do they prick their finger and write in blood? No. In modern times, they actually have nurses on site at these studios and at these record labels that come in and draw the blood from the individual, and they put the blood into a vial pen, okay, into a vial, then insert the vial into a pen. And then that pen, instead of having normal black or blue ink, is now carrying the blood as the ink inside of the pen. And the individual simply signs that contract in their blood with an actual blood ink pen. The blood ink is taken from the individual or the subject that's signing that contract. So that's more than likely what Will Smith did back in the 80s. Okay. And what's happening right now is, well, I want to give you all a premise as to what's going on and then why this is going on. Like, why are we seeing this right now? Okay. Well, Will Smith is very aware of what's going on in the land, and he's very aware. A lot of these celebrities are getting word from higher ups within the industry, basically telling them, it's time, y'all. It's time. Now, it's time for what? Well, many of them are going underground. Okay. Many of the celebrities today, they're not being killed, they're not dying. Their celebrity is dying. Okay. So there's a symbolic death that's taking place with these celebrities so that they can leave the industry from a visible standpoint, but take everything, their belongings, what they have to their name underground. Okay. Now Will Smith is very aware of what is coming to the world, and that's why I wanted to start this presentation off with what we read in Second Ezra chapter 9, okay, verses 1 through 8. It's very important for you all to realize that even though celebrities appear to not know what's happening, and the news appears to not know what's happening, media appear to not know what's happening, politicians and the president and presidents of the whole world, as a matter of fact, appear not to know what's happening. They truly know what's happening. And what we're being presented with every day through the media is a form of misinformation, understanding, and overstanding exactly what's happening. Okay, now this is very important. Um, Will Smith has a movie that now the movie Independence Day is packed with scenarios pertaining to the final battle of Armageddon. Now I know you would kind of be like, huh? What? There's gonna be a lot of statements that I make that might cause your antennas to go like bloop, 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 bloop. Okay. And they really might cause your antennas to rise up. And that's good because everything that I say in this presentation can be substantiated. And you can look at what I'm saying from a resourceful standpoint and find the truth online over many different sources yourself. I may not be the first one to bring forth everything that's presented in this presentation, but I may be the first one to way where you can grasp this information in one conglomerated session of study. Okay. Now, in the movie Independence Day, we see Will Smith's character playing a high ranking Air Force pilot who was called in a secret meeting to basically defend this nation against an alien threat. Okay. Now, it's very interesting because Will Smith has some lines in that movie um, which are very telling if you know what to look for. Okay. Now, the biggest thing about this is that Will Smith, through the actual Will Smith, not the actor, but the man, he has been giving intelligence. Okay, if you remember some times back that he was very cool and possibly still tight with Barack Obama. He was invited to the White House with he and his son Jaden Smith, and there was a moment there where Jaden Smith was able to ask President Obama about so-called extraterrestrial life, and he was given the opportunity to ask President Obama if President Obama knew of any files or any sorts of information pertaining to this extraterrestrial life. And I believe President Obama, said something along the lines of, if there were life, I can neither confirm or deny it. You know, if there was extraterrestrial life, I could neither confirm or deny it. To which Jaden Smith had one of those mind blown moments because essentially Barack Obama was confirming Jaden Smith's um, idea that there actually was life beyond the earth realm. Okay. Now, what Will Smith knows about this life and what all the higher ups, the kings and uh, presidents of the world and high ranking officials of the world know about this life is that most of the so-called extraterrestrials are not really extraterrestrials at all. They are interdimensional beings. Okay, they come in and out of portals. They come in through different frequency, a different dimension. Many of them, who the nations of the world are concerned about, come from the highest dimensions. They come from the highest forms of heaven and are actual agents and servants of the Most High, Mama and Papa. They are divine beings. Now, you also have lower entity, interdimensional beings, And those lower interdimensional beings are who the celebrities and who the government officials and high ranking government officials actually work for. Okay. Now, those low ranking interdimensional beings are very mischievous and they are liars, okay? They're very devious in what their intent is to partner with the high ranking officials within the governments and the shadow government, which we'll be touching on soon, okay? Once you sell your soul and you do those things to get you into a high rank of superstardom within Hollywood, most individuals who are in those positions are then involved in high forms of wizardry and warlockism and witchcraft. And because of that, they're given information that the normal public is not given information to. Okay? Now, on the highest level. Well, what Will Smith knows is that these interdimensional beings are actually so-called black people. The government on these so-called black people or so-called extraterrestrials. Now, before I get on this, extra means extra, but terrestrial means of the earth, okay, or of land. So when they say extraterrestrial, they're saying beings from other lands coming into this realm. Now, if you know anything about the firmament that covers this planet, this planet is a plane. Okay, look at the word planet and break it down into two parts: plane et or plane T. Now, the T stands for terrestrial. So it is a plane of terrestrialism, a terrestrial plane. And put together, you see planet or planet. Now, what's going on is there are no extraterrestrials that are coming deep from the cosmos. The cosmos is actually comprised of, that's right, plain T. Very good. What we're actually seeing is a plane which is covered by a glass firmament or dome, and higher dimensional beings have access into this plane through interdimensional travel. Okay. They also have access into this plane from deep underground. And I'm going to touch on that as well. Okay. So, what we have to realize is that not only is Will Smith very aware of what's to come, but he's preparing himself and his family, excuse me, he's preparing himself and his family for his eventual exit from the surface level, from Hollywood, so that he can hide underground and protect himself and his family from what they deem as a threat to come. Now, why would they deem this as a threat? Why would they deem any high vibratory, high frequency agents and servants of the Most High, Mama and Papa, as a threat? Well, like I said earlier, anyone who sold their soul in a blood covenant contract to lower entities, to the devil and his minions or its minions and officers, they should be frightened. And this is why I said earlier also that I don't seek to do anything of defamatory statements toward Will Smith. As a matter of fact, all of these individuals who our hearts are moved to care for over the years and who we've been emotionally attached to, I really suggest that you pray for these individuals because, believe it or not, as I present this information to you, there are also opportunities in grace, by the grace of the Most High, where individuals can repent of these things, and there's still a chance for them to get their souls right. However, many of them have serious forms of ego, and due to their pool of guilt and the feel of guilt over their hearts of what they have done behind closed doors, the devil is working on them in such a way where it's making repentance. Okay, but the Most High tells us something different in His Word. All right. Now we're going to get to that. All right. But because Will Smith and he is that they are so called black extraterrestrials coming to do some things, to do the wrath and to exercise and execute the wrath of the Most High over the wickedness of this world, many people are running afraid. Now, before I get into some more scriptures, I just want to back this up. When we go into that movie, Independence Day, Will Smith has a very telling line in that movie, and I'm gonna quote it right now. But the scene that Will Smith says this, he just shot down a plane, one of the interdimensional beings, and he's in a desert setting. And you can YouTube this, you can Google it. But he's in a setting where he's in the desert and he shoots down the plane, and then he goes to look and open up the craft, and he pulls a being out of the craft. He pulls the being out of the craft, puts the being in his parachute because he's trying to get this being to be his proof that, whoa, I actually shot one of these down, talking about his character in the movie who they war with. Now, dragging your heavy butt through the burning desert with your dreadlocks sticking out the back of my parachute. You gotta come down here with an attitude, acting all big and bad. And what the he double hockey sticks is that smell? I could have been at a barbecue. Now that was Will Smith's line in the movie. Now, when I was a little boy, I felt weird about that because he said dreadlocks. Okay, that simple word, dreadlocks. Now, you see my hair. My hair is wrapped. My beard is not in dreadlocks. My hair is in locks. And the only thing dreadful about my locks is that those who would be afraid of my identity, those who would be afraid of the power of my recognition of my true divine self, they're the ones who would be in dread of what they see. But these are not dreadlocks, these are locks. Okay? Now, when Will Smith's line, his character said, with your dreadlocks sticking out the back of my parachute, even as a little boy, my antennas immediately went up. I didn't realize 2 years later the nefarious intent that Hollywood had in mind to paint a picture of all of the interdimensional beings that they present to us through their movies as truly being so-called black people. You'll notice that the Men in Black, uh, Independence Day, all of the aliens are normally the ones that are evil. They're normally presented as these melanated beings, brown, dark brown, even black beings, and they all have locks, tentacles coming from their head in the form of dreadlocks, right? Dreadlocks in the form of locks. And you notice that they're always strong beings, they're always tall, they're always quick, they always have these superhuman powers, right? Okay, I need y'all to really pay attention to what I'm saying. Well, Hollywood knows what's coming. Hollywood gets debriefed and briefed on the interdimensional beings as well. But their role and their job is to paint our ancestors and ancestresses of the highest form who are in service to the Most High Mama and Papa, who are flying in those light ships that I have another video on my True Jew channel pertaining to light ships and Merkabah and the truth about them. But these light ships are the vehicles carrying the angels, carrying the exalted and highly ranked ancestors and ancestresses who are servants to the Most High, Mama and Papa, who will come to execute that wrath over this world or over this planet. Okay. Now, you know what? Let's get right into that real quick. Joel, Joel chapter 2, okay, 1 through 11, to premise what I'm saying to be true and why Will Smith knows and other high ranking Hollywood individuals know about this. Joel chapter 2, verse 1. Blow the trumpet in Zion, sound the alarm on my holy hill. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Most High is coming. It is close at hand. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness, like dawn spreading across the mountains. A large and mighty army comes, such as never was in ancient times, nor ever will be in ages to come. Before them, fire devours. Behind them, a flame blazes. Before them, the land is like the Garden of Eden. Behind them, a desert waste. Nothing escapes them. They have the appearance of horses. They gallop along like cavalry, with a noise like that of chariots. They leap over the mountaintops like a crackling fire consuming stubble, like a mighty army drawn up for battle. At the sight of them, nations are in anguish. Every face turns pale. They charge like warriors. They scale walls like soldiers. They all march in line, not swerving from their course. They do not jostle each other. Each marches straight ahead. They plunge through defenses without breaking ranks. They rush upon the city. They run along the wall. They climb into the houses like thieves. They enter through the windows. Before them, the earth shakes. The heaven trembles. The sun and moon are darkened, and the stars no longer shine. The Most High thunders at the head of his army. His forces are beyond number, and mighty is the army that obeys his command. The day of the Most High is great. It is dreadful. Who can endure it? Okay. Now, we hear that the nations are going to tremble at the sight of this. Now, go back to that movie Independence Day. Wasn't it the nations who trembled at the sight of those mighty motherships blasting through into this heavenly space in our present day Earth? And didn't those ships have fire before them? Weren't those ships coming down? And it was like something that had never been seen. The clouds were opening up, right? And all of the nations across the world were in fear of what they saw, right? Okay, now I want y'all to really pay attention. Now, before I continue, what is it about that slap heard across the world and Chris Rock being slapped and then going on a tour directly after that and using that as a selling point for his tour to be as successful as possible? Well, and why did I say Will Smith has a soul contract before we continue? Well, there's a movie. Let's talk about Chris Rock real quick. Do y'all remember in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, there was an episode where Will Smith had all these dates he was going on? And this before Chris Rock really blew up into stardom himself. And do you remember how Chris Rock played a role where he was dressed in drag? Yeah, y'all, think about this for a second. Chris Rock played a role on Will Smith's show where Chris Rock was dressed like a woman, and in him being dressed like a woman, he was one of Will Smith's dates. Do you remember that? They actually went on a date together. Do y'all remember this? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air went on a date with a character dressed in drag played by Chris Rock. So they have a history that goes way, way back, y'all. So that slap, if you even look at it, it was something that you could see off the WWF, the WWE, okay? You could see it. And Will Smith even put the stomp behind and tried to make it look real. And that's why Chris Rock couldn't help but laugh when he got supposedly slapped on stage. Okay. He didn't really get slapped, y'all. And if he did get touched, it was very light. All right. But that was part of Will Smith's plan to get himself removed from Hollywood so that he could step away without having to physically kill himself or without having to make it appear as though he died. Okay, this is very important for y'all. I need y'all to grasp this. Now, remember, he and Chris Rock are actually friends in real life. And if you go back to that Fresh Prince episode and catch it, you'll see Chris Rock dressed in drag. He has sold his soul, I'm sure, as well. And that's part of the initiation process that they have to go through in order to get to those higher ranks within Hollywood. Now, why am I saying Will Smith sold his soul? Well, y'all, there's a movie that was released in 2014. And the movie is so crazy and it's so spiritually uncomfortable to watch. And Will Smith is in it. And he decided to be a cameo in this movie, but his role was so intense that he didn't even want credit for this film. And that's why a lot of people don't know about this film when they search Will Smith films. It won't come up unless you know what film this is. And that film is called A Winter's Tale. Okay. Now, that film stars Russell Crowe and Colin Farrell, amongst others. But in this movie, Russell Crowe plays a high ranking demon. okay, who's after Colin Farrell's character. And Will Smith, he plays a character called the Judge. Now, within 1 minute of watching the scene where he's first presented with Russell Crowe in the scene as well, you will clearly see that Will Smith's character, the Judge, is actually the devil himself. Yes, y'all. I I couldn't believe it. Will Smith, in all of his superstardom and all of the roles he's played, childhood, remember being America's favorite son in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he actually played the devil in this movie called The Winter's Tale. And I had to wonder why he didn't want to take credit for that role. Now, I didn't even find out about that movie existed until I think like the end of 2019, going into 2020. But up to that point, it had been in existence for 5 or 6 years. Okay. And I didn't even know about it, but it exists. And if you want to check on it, you can actually check it out. It's called A Winter's Tale. But Will Smith he has a cameo in that movie, and he actually plays the devil. And that was what confirmed my empathic understanding about what's going on. Now, if Brother Will Smith sees this, it is to my knowledge, based off the scriptures, that he still has a chance to repent of what he did, and he can actually come to a place of true repentance and be restored by the Most High Mama and Papa and actually saved for the time to come. But will his ego, will the guilt complex placed on him allow him to do so? I don't know, but I hope that he's able to bypass that. Okay. Now, I told you and mentioned that Will Smith knows about the black interdimensional beings coming and that have already arrived within this plane, okay, to do the militaristic work of the Most High Mama and Papa. But what a lot of us don't know is, what does all this have to do with right now? And why are celebrities, and I'm going to touch on this in another video, Most High Mama and Papa willing, but why are celebrities selling off their catalogs? Why are celebrities popping up dead all of a sudden? And if you notice the theme with celebrities popping up dead, mainly actors and actresses, one thing that stuck out to me is each one of these actors and actresses that are Generation X and even millennials, they're popping up dead, but they, right before they die, they have 5 and 6 pieces of material of movies that are unreleased that are to be released. Hit me immediately. What that is about? Well, once they go underground after they fake their death, they'll need income. Okay, they'll still need a stream of revenue, right? So the contracts that they have in place with these studios after they supposedly die will allow them to collect fundage to continue their lifestyles underground. This is why all these actors, it hit me hard when I heard about Chadwick Boseman passing, the Ray Liotta's, and all of these individuals. There's so many, but they all have movies still attached to their names after they supposedly die. Where are they going? Well, they got the call. Hey, it's time to go underground. What's happening that we told you was going to happen is beginning to happen. Now, what's beginning to happen? Well, back in 2005, there was a planet that was revealed, Planet X. We all heard about Planet X, but a lot of us aren't privy to what the X in Planet X actually stood for. Now, the X stood for Xena. Okay. Now, Xena is the Greek word for Xenia or Xenia. Okay. Now, Xena in the Grecian tongue means guest or stranger. Okay. But that name was recently changed. Okay. So Planet X is no longer called Planet X no more. And it was looked at as the 10th planet. Okay. Now, check this out. We're going to get into this. Planet X is now called Eris or Eris, Eris, Eris. And that planet, the renaming of it, is now after the Greek goddess of discord. So when these individuals of the higher ranking realm down here choose to name these planets, they usually go after Greek words or Latin words. In this case, they're both Greek words. Xena, meaning stranger or guest or stranger, Xenia, okay, or Eris, meaning the goddess of discord. Now, why would they name it that? Well, in the so-called conscious community, that 10th planet is known as the planet Nibiru. And in the Bible, it's known wood. Okay. Now it's beginning to make sense, right? If you're familiar with your Bible, then you will know that the planet wormwood is to come and it's to cause great catastrophe across the whole world. It's to cause earthquakes and floods, and it's to cause fires all over the place and great discord throughout the land, right? And notice that key word, discord. Discord is what they rename the planet Eris, the goddess of discord. All right. Now, why is this important? This segues us into our next section about the deep underground military bases. Because I told you Will Smith and others like him are going deep underground. But the majority of these people, celebrities alike, politicians, they've all sold their soul to the wicked one. They've all sold their soul to the devil. Okay, and it's very important that you understand what's really at play, because these same ones are put in front of our face to throw us off, to cause fear mongering, to provide us with, excuse me, misinformation and entertain us so that we don't do the proper spiritual preparation first and foremost, so that we don't lighten our hearts and so that we don't get in a proper placement with the Most High Mama and Papa before these things come. Because if you're in a if catastrophe is all around you and you're not prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually for the catastrophe, you will be moving in a sense of fear, and you may just in turn dig yourself into a deeper spiritual state than what you need to be had you taken this time of grace right now to get your house in order. This is your house, your body. This is your first house, the body, the vessel that you were given. Your next house is the house that you dwell in with your family, or if you're single, by yourself. And it's very important that you understand these things, because we still have grace. And that's why when my heart was put out to our brother Will Smith and others like him, this ain't about bashing. This is about making sure that he and those like him even understand the serious spiritual connotations on the light side of things, and don't believe the lie that the wicked one has placed on their hearts to believe. Okay. Now, let's get into these D.U.M.s. All right. D.U.M.s are an acronym for Deep Underground Military Bases. They exist. There's over 120 of these deep underground military bases situated across our nation alone. Okay. Now, most of these deep underground military bases are located under major cities, United States Air Force bases, Navy bases, as well as under FEMA military training camps and Department of Homeland Security control centers. Okay, now this is very strategic. Now, um, these deep underground military bases, you're not going to hear about them on the news. And if you do, you'll hear about them on the news through a form of satire. They'll make fun of them as if they don't exist. They might say individuals like myself who present this information are loonies or cuckoos or quacks for presenting this information. But these DUMBs, the majority of them, are over 2 miles underground. Okay. That's just the low scale versions. They're over 2 miles underground and have diameters ranging anywhere from 10 miles to 30 miles wide. Okay, do you hear me? Now, these dams have been being built day and night since the 1940s, according to my last calculations. Okay, now they are large cities. Okay, each one of these deep underground military bases are actually large cities corrected by what are called magneto levity trains. Okay, now these magneto levity trains, or magneto levity trains, they have speeds and travel up to 1,500 miles per hour. Okay, 1,500 miles per hour. It's so very fast. Now, these underground bases and tunnels, before I go on, can be substantiated in quite a few places. One of my famous places, or my favorite places where these could be substantiated, are from a book called Underground Bases and Tunnels by Richard Sauder, who's a PhD in architect with very credible knowledge on the subject. He's worked closely with individuals who have architected these deep underground military bases, and he really put his life on the line by bringing forth the information that is utilized today, so that we can actually make some sense of this ourselves without having to worry about the fear mongering or the misinformation. Now, yes, y'all, the Illuminati is real. Now, before I get into that, the Illuminati simply means enlightened one. Now, you can be enlightened to good, or you can be enlightened to bad, wickedness, what's construed as bad and good, righteousness and wickedness. Now, as I present this information to you, I am an enlightened one, but I don't belong to any form or fashion or sect of the Illuminati. In the traditional sense of the word, Illuminati or illumined one, that is who I am. Now, when you talk about the Illuminati from the shadow government perspective, these are the ones who are enlightened to the knowledge that I'm bringing forth to you now, except they utilize it for their own nefarious ends. They utilize it for devious means, and they utilize it to control the masses, to keep us blind, dumb, and stupid to what's really going on within the cosmos here, within this firmament. Okay, the cosmos is actually located within the firmament. And interdimensionally, and what's going on the planet, okay, whether on the surface level or underground. Now, the reason that the Illuminati shadow government is working so hard to keep this information away from us is because they are in contract with the wicked one. And as the wicked one lies, they are even beginning to see that, whoa, we might have done the wrong thing by signing our souls away to this wicked entity who promised us technology, who promised us wealth and riches and all sorts of fortune. Now, see, money is not worth the soul. The soul is not worth money. The soul is priceless. It cannot be bought with gold and silver. Okay? But they were tricked into selling their souls away for gold and silver. And now they are working hard to hide this truth from modern society because modern society, as we know it, is crumbling all around us. They're doing whatever they can do to get into what they feel is a safe place for themselves to try to hide from the wrath of the Most High. They also seek to establish a third world nation. So they want America to become a third world nation ruled by a fascist police state. Now, that fascist police state, I hate to break it to y'all, but it's not going to be trooped or policed by citizens like you and I. It's not going to be policed and trooped by our brothers and sisters in the armed forces within this country. No, no, no. It will be deployed when martial law, so the fascist police state will be deployed when martial law is fully executed amongst Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, which they are ramping up right now. You can do all the due diligence yourself of the information I'm bringing forth to see that your brother True Jew is telling you the truth to the best of my absolute capabilities. All praise to the Most High Mama and Papa for this gift of discernment, correct? Okay, let's continue. So, this fascist police state, it will be trooped and deployed when martial law comes to America. Now, millions of Americans listed on the CIA red and blue list will be rounded up by these fascist police state troops. Now, who are troops within this fascist police state? Well, they will be trooped by Chinese, Ukrainian, German, Polish, Japanese, Saudi Arabian, Pakistani, Mexican, Honduran, Chilean, and Salvadorian troops already stationed deep underground in these deep underground military bases. That's why when Agenda 21 pops off and Agenda 2030 pops off with martial law, immediately, seemingly out of nowhere, the land of America, the nation as we know it, will be invaded by all of these NATO troops and all of these troops who are in league with the Illuminati shadow government, y'all. This is what's so crazy about this. Overnight, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, troops will be running through the streets. And these troops will not be Americans at all because most American troops have been deployed overseas in order to move them from American soil. I need y'all to really pay attention and to think. Remember, this is chess, not checkers, and they are playing a high form of chess being guided by the wicked ones. Okay? Now, do not expect this information, like I said, to be presented on Fox News, NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, BBC, or Reuters. And don't expect them to give you or us a full account of the truth. This is why they make fun of the deep underground military bases in the form of saying that, oh, deep underground is captured alien hardware, okay? Alien hardware being crashed UFOs, which they now call UFAs, and that sort of thing. Okay, the deep underground bases are not storage places for crashed UFOs and alien technology. Now, that story is an elaborate cover up to discredit those like me who expose these truths. Okay, that's why they can laugh about this and make fun of it. But every time they talk about deep underground military bases, they bring up the alien perspective and they don't tell you what's really going on, that these are deep cities underground, 10 to 30 miles wide, the minimum. And they are being constructed day and night to house the high ranking officials, the high military generals, the presidents and kings of the world and their families, as well as celebrities of the upper ilk who have been brought in and initiated into this knowledge that I'm sharing with you now. Also, they are they are involved in a deep cover up. And this is where the wholesale looting of the federal treasury, okay, has taken place. Okay. There has been over $12 trillion, which have been spent by the U.S. through organizations such as the NSA, DOD, CIA, DIA, ATF, ONI, U.S. Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, FEMA, and the DHS to build these massive covert infrastructures for the coming one world government and new religion. Now, this, like I told you, has been happening for over the past 40 years, y'all. Okay? Now, these deep underground military bases, they're owned by key investors through the key investors throughout all of the world. Now, before I get back to the deep underground military bases, you also have deep underground and above ground access points to what are called seed vaults, okay, or gene banks. Okay, now the gene banks, there are over 1,700 versions of these gene banks all over the world in strategic places that coincide with the deep underground military bases that are being constructed across the world. Now, the largest of which is called the Global Seed Bank in Svalbard. Now, Svalbard is a remote island in an archipelago, okay, located halfway between mainland Norway and the North Pole. Okay, now they built this base, this deep underground seed vault to so-called build to stand the test of time. Okay, so it was built to stand the test of time. And the first thing I thought about when I was made privy of this was the Titanic and how the Titanic was supposed to be a ship that was unsinkable. And when it hit that iceberg, it totally was destroyed and sunk with all of those people on board. Now, that's a whole nother story, right? But just to know that they still have the mind to supposedly build something that can stand the test of time, knowing very well the threat to come, is quite hilarious to me. Now, this global seed vault, it's called the Ark, the Seed Ark, okay? Now, like I said, it's in Svalbard, Svalbard. You can Google the global seed vault in Svalbard, okay? Now, it houses and stores every single seed that you can think of that has been produced on earth in this vault. And it's called the ark because their intent is to go underground. And when the wrath of the Most High is completed, they intend to come out from underground and replant all of those seeds. But while they're underground, they intend, and they have done this already, as far as what I'm about to tell you, they have all sorts of horticulture, deep underground greenhouses, which they have grown their produce in to be able to feed the hundreds of thousands and quite possibly millions of individuals who will find themselves underground trying to hide from the wrath of the Most High. Now, the seed vault in Svalbard is owned by key investors through the Ministry of Agriculture and Food on behalf of the Kingdom of Norway. Okay, you can check all of these out for yourself. Okay, now this is very important because you want to be able to confirm what I'm saying as I bring this information forward. Now, These deep underground military bases and the construction crews which have them have access to serious nuclear power deep underground. Like I told you, over $12 trillion since the inception of these projects has been spent through the Illuminati shadow government, which are pilfered funds taken from the federal treasury and taken from objectives and like the war on drugs, for instance, and different initiatives where it's like, where are all of these donations from like hurricanes going? Where are all these donations from, like Hurricane Katrina, when or the earthquake in Haiti, when all of these hundreds of $1 millions were funneled in, but no sign of the money was used on the actual areas that were affected by these. That funding has been illegally funneled into these shadow projects by the shadow government operated under the Illuminati. Okay, you must be aware of this. Now, they have nuclear powered laser drilling machines, for instance, that bore tunnels 7 miles long in one day. Okay. Now the source. Now these laser drilling machines operated by nuclear power. They're the source of many of the diverse earthquakes being felt in places where earthquakes were normally not felt. Okay. If you check the September 1983 issue of Omni magazine on page 80, you will see a device called the subterrene. Now, it's Los Alamos' nuclear powered tunnel machine that burrows through rock and deep underground by heating whatever it encounters into molten rock. And this is how they're able to bore these tunnels so quickly and efficiently. But it's at the cost of all of those on the surface. Okay. Now, keep this in mind. Those magnetic vibrations coming from underground that operate these facilities, whether they be through the magneto levity trains that are traveling over 1,500 miles per hour, or whether they be from areas on the sick to get headaches and to get all these chronic ailments that they previously didn't have. And this is the source of those chronic ailments and why doctors haven't been able to pinpoint why individuals are getting sick over these areas. Okay. Now, once again, a D.U.M.B. is a deep underground military base. Now, I got to tell y'all something. One of the biggest and most extensive deep underground military bases in this nation is actually located in Colorado under the Denver, Colorado airport. Okay, the Denver International Airport. That D.U.M.B. located under the Denver International Airport is over 22 miles in diameter, y'all, and goes down over 8 levels. Yes, you heard me correctly. Okay, it's over 22 miles in diameter and goes down over 8 levels. Now, this is why the CIA relocated its headquarters for the domestic division. Okay. CIA headquarters are in Langley, Virginia, but they relocated that particular division, the domestic division, which is responsible for its operations in the United States, from Langley to Denver. Now, I don't deal with coincidence, folks. There are no coincidences. When you deal with the spiritual realm and the Most High Mother and Father, you realize that all things happen for a reason. So there are no coincidences. But if you look at the Denver International Airport, you will find Masonic symbols and bizarre artwork of dead babies, burning cities, and women in coffins painted into the murals throughout the airport. Now I knew about this way back when the international airport was being constructed. They have a huge black horse, which I know is one of the horses of Revelation, a huge, and there's so much strange artwork throughout it that it's very, very interesting that no one in a media standpoint has called attention to it from a place of enlightening the citizens of this nation. But when you look deeper and read in between the lines with what's going on, like I said, you see the Masonic symbology. You see the bizarre artwork. Once again, dead babies, burning cities, women in coffins painted into murals throughout the airport, none of which are featured on the airport's actual website detailing unique artwork throughout the building. So why isn't the airport itself highlighting this so-called very unique artwork? Excuse me, y'all. Why isn't it highlighting this unique artwork throughout its website? Well, because the artwork isn't supposed to cause attention to a time past or to the artist who drew it and painted it. It's a futuristic telling of what they know to come. Now, if you look around that property at the Denver International Airport, in the acreage that allegedly untouched around the airport, you will see cooling towers in the form of concrete stacks popping up all over the ground. Now, these cooling towers are used as ventilation apparatuses for the deep underground military base that's located there, okay, to vent the facilities and to keep those facilities having fresh airflow. Now, this particular deep underground military base is 88.3 square miles deep. I'll say that again. Remember, most deep underground military bases on a minuscule scale are only about 2 miles deep. This base is 88.3 miles deep. It's literally and basically 8 cities on top of each other, y'all. 8 cities on top of each other. Now, I mentioned that it was 22 miles in diameter and goes down 8 levels. Well, each level is about 10 miles or so. Okay, give a little over 10 miles, maybe about 12 miles wide. And that's funny because when you look at a story in a home, most stories are anywhere from 10 to 12 feet tall. So, what they did in order to construct these deep underground cities is they took that 10 to 12 foot spacing between a floor to ceiling in a home, and they took that idea and increased it to 10 to 12 miles in between each city underground. Okay. Now, that brings me to my next scripture. Okay. I told you that these places are used to produce food, right? Well, they have a seed bank underneath many of them. And the gene banks, to go back into the gene banks real quick, those gene banks are exactly what they sound like. They've taken the blood of primarily all of the animals on Earth, the DNA, the sperm, the eggs of these animals, and they've cybergenically frozen a lot of these genes in an attempt to reintroduce these animals back onto the surface of the Earth after the Most High wrath is executed on this plane. Now, that caused me to come to Revelation. Uh, yes, gene banks. That's correct. They actually have literal gene banks, similar to what was being done in Jurassic Park. The gene banks where um, they store the cybergenically frozen eggs and the cybergenically frozen uh, uh, pieces of these animals to later come back to them and be able to access them at a later time to produce the animal which those genes and that blood belongs to, right? Um, what I want to do real quick is go to Revelation chapter 6, verses 15 through 16. Everything has already been prophesied in the holy and ancient books. All we have to do is read in between the lines. Listen. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and everyone else, both slave and free, hid in caves and among the rocks of the mountains. They called to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can withstand it? Well, I can tell you, awakened ones, all of the ones who are conscious to what is going on right now and have begun the process of lightening their hearts and removing the heavy weight of guilt and have taken advantage of this grace period will be the ones who will be able to withstand that time. Any individual, whether they belong to a family or not, a group, an organization, no matter how much technology, no matter how much wealth they have, they will not be able to hide themselves from the wrath of the Most High when it is finally executed and delivered in its full totality. Okay, now that brings me to Bill Gates. Yeah, that brings me to Bill Gates. A lot of times when we see Bill Gates on TV at this time, we're seeing a symbiotic robot. We're seeing a CGI deep fake version of Bill Gates. Okay, Bill Gates is still hard at work. Many say he's dead. But from my understanding, which has been based on to me, Bill Gates is actually underground, and that's where the majority of his work is being executed from. Because to them, there is still so much work that needs to be done before the great and terrible day of the Most High. Now, that day is not terrible to, because we know when that day comes, the new kingdom will be established on top of this wicked system that has been allowed to this modern day so that we can get our souls right for the return of the new kingdom. Okay, there's nothing to be afraid of when you are on the right side of the fence. Presentation, because Bill Gates is known now as the individual who holds the most farmland in this nation. His farmland holdings total 200,068 984 acres. Yes, you heard that correctly. 268,984 acres is the total amount of acres that Bill Gates holds now within this country. Now, the states which he holds these acres are the exact same states where many of the deep underground military bases are located. Now, there's a reason for that. He went to buy all of these and purchase all of this land and was actually given permission to get this land, okay? Because once again, the land that he purchased is over the surface of the deep underground military bases, and all of his land is located, yeah, all of his land is located over these dumps hidden underground in our country, in this nation, and it is being used on the surface to produce his poisonous and deadly food alternatives like GMO crops and that Beyond Meat. Okay, now that GMO crop and Beyond Meat that he is producing on these acres, on these acres, is being used to feed those already underground and being used to feed us on the surface, those of us who are not aware of his nefarious intent with those horrible GMO foods and that Beyond Meat substance that he created. Now, the states that he has land ownings in, of the 268,984 acres, are Washington State, Idaho, California, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico, Nebraska, Iowa, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, North Carolina, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois. You notice there are many states that were not named, and he does not have holdings in those states as of yet. The majority of states he does not have holdings in, how ironic, are the states which are either open carry states, states where the legislative law has not been overtaken by a sick shadow government democratic hold on the state. So these are states that are still highly Republican and states that stand on the original tenet. And a lot of Republican states still believe in the Bible, believe it or not. So these states are states that would be considered red states that Bill Gates is staying away from, and he is focused on the states that have the deep underground military bases underneath. Okay, now these states, not states, but these deep underground military bases in this farmland is being used to produce the food which will be fed to all of the people and celebrities making their way underground who call themselves avoiding the wrath of the Most High Father. Now, I read to you Revelation chapter 6, verse 15 and 16, and I'll do it one more time because these people and celebrities actually think that they'll be able to get away from the wrath. In the book of Revelation, once again, chapter 15, verse 16, we read, Then the kings of the earth, the princes, remember Fresh Prince? Yeah, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and everyone else, both slave and free, hid in caves and among the rocks of the mountains. When that wrath came, y'all, they called to the mountains and the rocks, Fall on us, hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can withstand it? Well, the saints will be able to withstand it. So, look, y'all, I'm about to wrap this presentation up. I hope that you were able to get a lot from this information that was presented through me to you. I hope that you remember my disclaimers at the beginning of this study and this presentation. I hope that you remember that I intend not to be defamatory to any individual who is named in this presentation, but instead I must stand on the truth and I must bring forth the truth as a child and son of the Most High Mama and Papa. I must be strong in this day to come and not move without fear. And without moving in fear at all, I've also been blessed with solutions. So before we wrap this study and this presentation up, let's get into some solutions for y'all who've been able to stick around so that you don't got to move forward in any type of fear, okay? Now, mass detention camps. Now, I have to say this. I hope this puts a little fire under your booty, under your bottom, excuse me. Mass detention camps in the deep underground military bases will be in place. Okay. As NATO forces and martial law is executed, Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, which is being ramped up into 2022, the year we are in right now, according to the Gregorian calendar. These deep underground military bases will also be used as detention camps. I mentioned that earlier, as the CIA has a red and blue list packed with individuals who they have been paying attention to and who they have marked as those awakened ones, okay, and those who would more than likely bring this truth forward that I'm sharing with you now. Now, the deep detention or the mass detention camps and the deep underground military bases will be the place where many mass executions will sadly occur, like they have in many other countries. Okay, so mass executions are nothing new, but they're usually uh, ordained and they take place in what we would consider third world countries. So, or places where uh, and people are not really over the last 100 years or so. Now, have you noticed how this country now? I know that there might be some sort of issue with speaking on Ukraine and the involvement with Ukraine, but you have to realize that they are actually in cahoots. Countries like Russia, countries like China, even countries like Iran, these countries are some of the last strongholds that, in the time to come, before it's taking place, they will be one of the last standard or guard standing place before. I have to take note of this, okay? Please take note of this. But these mass detention camps in the DUMBs will be the place where mass executions will occur. So, the best option, let's get into some solutions. The best option for many Americans right now will be to have a safe place to go to in a remote channel talking about the wilderness and what the wilderness really is. Well, in a nutshell, the wilderness isn't an arid, dry desert place where there is no signs of life, where there are no signs of resources, where you have to have barrels of water and move on camelback and once again possibly hide in caves and in rocks. No, no, no. The Most High doesn't want us to do that. The best places are in the true wilderness. The wilderness is any place that has natural resources, access to natural resources, okay, outside of the present shadow government control, outside of inner cities and cities where the government will easily be able to dictate their control over you, and move into places where you have access to natural resources, fresh running water, fresh streams of water. Even if the water isn't necessarily clean, there are water filtration methods which you can utilize. Places of timber, places where you have elk, deer, quail, wild turkey, fish, even the swine, the wild hogs. All of these places that still have bird life, plant and animal life, where you can grow wild mushrooms and things of that nature, which will sustain your body when these things begin to hit the fan at a high rate. Okay. Um, Solutions. Continue. Pray for those. Okay. And I'm going to be reading from the book of Joel again. But pray for those still lost. If the feeling to pray for them is placed onto your heart, whether they be family members, friends, people who you thought have given up, people who are living a nefarious or low frequency life and they don't seem to be good anymore, and you still have a feeling on your heart to pray for them, pray for your brothers and sisters. Pray for our brothers and sisters, our mothers, our fathers on the earth realm, okay? Our cousins, our nieces, our nephews, our children. Okay, pray for those still lost. If the feeling to pray for them is placed onto your heart, that they recognize the grace placed before them before all this wrath officially comes, that should be your prayer. Also, children of the light, children of those who are awakened, don't allow your heart to get cold. Don't allow your heart to be heavy in this time. Don't allow your heart to be overtaken by fear. Stay in prayer, stay in confidence that you are a child of the Most High Mama and Papa, and that you do have an out in this time to come, and that you will not be one of those executed or one of those captured or gathered up when you be obedient to what the Most High Mama and Papa's word is to us here. Also, purchase heirloom seeds. Okay, purchase the seeds where when you plant them, they will grow produce and then produce more seed for you. So those are called heirloom seeds. Okay, just like a family heirloom is passed down and handed down from generation to generation. Heirloom seeds are the types of seeds that produce the produce that you need and then produce seeds within that produce so you can continue planting those pieces of produce, those varieties of produce. Stay away from GMO anything if you can, especially when it comes to procuring seeds. They do sell GMO seeds, which have the promise of sprouting extra fast and turning over good food for you. But you don't want those forms of produce because they do not produce seed. So you want to purchase heirloom seed, non-GMO heirloom seed, and build up your seed bank. Okay. Now, also, you want to gather your fiat resources. This is important because the fiat currency is heading out the door. The United States dollar is crumbling every single day. And pretty soon, we will not be able to use that fiat currency in order to purchase the things that we truly need in form of machinery, equipment, um, land, places of safety while we still can. So gather your fiat resources and purchase cultivatable land with natural resources on it. The equipment that you need to cultivate that land, whether they're hand tools or whether they're gas powered tools or electric tools. Do what you can right now. Get with those individuals of a like mind, wherever they are, if you can. After vetting them, of course, doing due diligence, I highly suggest background checks and doing whatever you can to check a person's resume before you get in league with them. But do your absolute best to take your fiat resources and use them to purchase meaningful assets and goods to carry you forward in the time to come. Also, let go, let go, brothers and sisters, let go of the American dream. We all had our pursuits, especially being baby boomers, being Generation Xers, millennials, rainbow babies, crystal children, indigo children. We all have been fooled and duped into the American dream, wanting to achieve our heart's desire, right? Wanting to be that next superstar, that next high paid movie actor or actress, wanting to be that next athlete, wanted to be that next LeBron James, the next Kobe. Rest in peace, my brother Kobe, and Gianna, and all those who were lost in that horrible, horrible catastrophe that was planned as well. But let go of the American dream, y'all, trying to get things of material wealth. And I know I just talked about purchasing things with fiat, but these aren't normally construed as things that the normal person would purchase. You know, most people want to get that Charger or that Lamborghini Murcielago or that Porsche or that G Wagon, or they want to stunt and they want to show out and flex and all this type of thing. Leave that alone, y'all. Let go of the American dream, trying to get things of material, so you can lighten your hearts in this time that we're living in. Forgive people who you feel have trespassed against you. Forgive those individuals who you feel have done you wrong, because only then, when you forgive, can you be forgiven as you cry out for the mercy that we all need right now in this time. Okay, we're going to go to Joel chapter 2, verse 12 and 13. Well, actually, Joel chapter 2, verses 12 through 17. And this is proof that we still have hope, y'all, as a people before that great and terrible day of the Most High come. Okay, so look, rend your hearts, okay? Joel chapter 2, verse 12 begins, "Even now, declares the Most High, return to me with all your heart, with fasting and weeping and mourning. Rend your heart and not your garments. Return to the Most High, your Elohim, for he is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in love, and he relents from sending calamity. Who knows? He may turn and relent and leave behind a blessing, grain offerings and drink offerings for the Most High, your Elohim. Those will be things to show the Most High that you're sincere. Blow the trumpet in Zion. Declare a holy fast. Call a sacred assembly. Gather the people. Consecrate the assembly. Bring together the elders. Gather the children, those nursing at the breast. Let the bridegroom leave his room and the bride her chamber. Let the priests who minister before the Most High weep between the portico and the altar. Let them say, spare your people, Most High. Do not make your inheritance an object of scorn, a byword among the nations. Why should they say among the peoples, where is their Elohim, meaning the nations? Because we're supposed to be believers. We're supposed to know, especially as children of Israel, as children, the true children of Yashrala, the true children of the nation and bloodline of Israel. Listen, y'all, it's your bro, True Jew. You know I love you to life. I thank you for tuning in, and I thank you for giving me an opportunity to present this information to you. I know it's jam-packed with truth. It's jam-packed with a bunch of information, but that's why I'm thankful for this Facebook Live. It's our first one. Let's consider it the inaugural Facebook Live. I mean, I said Facebook. The inaugural YouTube Live, okay? I appreciate everyone who participated in this live, all of the beautiful comments. I'm going to do my best to read them, and maybe I can answer them again, answer them in the future. But I truly thank you for joining me on this very first live. All of those who are tuning into it after it goes live and after it's published, I'll be making it public. I hope that you share this word. I hope that you like and comment. And if you haven't supported before, see, they call supporters subscribers. I call our subscribers supporters. So if you haven't been able to support before, I ask that you do so now because there'll be more information brought forth as the time ramps down. This channel has a lot, many studies on it, hours long, which I hope you take advantage of. Go ahead and download them if you can. Be able to, so you can be able to study these in your own time, all right? But like I said, it's your brother True Jew tapping in with you always. Thank you for tuning in. I love you to life. Most High Mama and Papa will, and I'll be back with some more high volume, high fuel information for y'all. And until then, gone.